The morning sun shone brightly over Lagos, Nigeria. Zara wiped sweat from her brow as she carefully arranged freshly baked loaves in the display case of her small bakery. The rich scent of freshly baked ajege bread filled the air, mixing with the sweetness of chin-chin and puff-puff cooling on racks behind her. At 25, she had inherited the bakery from her grandmother and worked hard every day to keep it running. The bell above the door jingled. Zara looked up with a smile that quickly faded when she saw who entered. Well, if it isn't the village baker," sneered Amara, dressed in an expensive dress that probably cost more than Zara made in 3 months. "Good morning, Amara," Zara said politely. "Would you like some bread today?" Amara glanced around the simple bakery with disgust. "I don't eat carbs. I just came to remind you about tomorrow's community meeting. The city council is considering my proposal to renovate this entire street. This," she waved her hand dismissively, "eyesore will finally be replaced with something worthy of Victoria Island." "This bakery has been here for 50 years, Zara said firmly. "My grandmother built it with her own hands." "How touching," Amara rolled her eyes. "But progress waits for no one. Maybe you could work as a cleaner in one of my new buildings." As she turned to leave, Amara deliberately knocked over a tray of chin-chin. "Oops," she said with fake concern, the honey-glazed treats scattering across the floor. After she left, Zara knelt to pick up the scattered sweets, fighting back tears. Her younger brother Kofi rushed out from the kitchen. "I heard everything," he said, helping her clean up. "Don't worry, sis. No one will vote for her plan. Everyone loves your bakery. Plus, where else would they get Grandma Nana's special recipes?" Zara smiled at her 12-year-old brother. Since their parents had died 5 years ago, they had only each other. "I hope you're right, Kofi. This bakery isn't just our business. It's your school fees and our home too." What Amara didn't know was that inside the bakery's old walls was hidden their grandmother's precious recipe book, containing secret family recipes passed down through generations, including medicinal herb combinations that had helped many in the community. If the bakery was demolished, this treasure would be lost forever. Across town, in a massive penthouse overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, Dio Okafor stared at his reflection in the mirror. At 32, he was one of the richest men in Africa. His tech company, Paytown, had revolutionized mobile banking across the continent, and his face regularly appeared on magazine covers. Yet he felt empty inside. "Another charity gala tonight, sir," his assistant reminded him, laying out an expensive suit. "The governor and several ministers will be there." Dio sighed. "Who else will be there?" "The same people who only talk about my money. The same women who pretend to like me but really just want my bank account." That evening at the gala, Dio smiled for photographers while feeling completely alone. A beautiful woman approached him, the daughter of an oil company executive, and began talking about her charity work. But when she thought he wasn't listening, he overheard her whispering to a friend, "My father says if I marry him, we'll never have to worry about money again." Something inside Dio snapped. He slipped away from the party and into his car. "Where to, sir?" his driver asked. "Just drive," Dio said. "Somewhere nobody knows me." An hour later, wearing simple clothes he kept in the car and a baseball cap pulled low, Dio wandered through a neighborhood he'd never visited before. The disguise was a trick he'd used occasionally when he wanted to escape being recognized. The smell of fresh bread caught his attention. Though the small bakery was closing, the lights were still on. His stomach growled. He'd eaten nothing at the gala. Zara was about to lock up when a man in simple clothes walked in. "I'm sorry, we're closing," she began. "Please," the man said. "I haven't eaten all day." His voice carried a gentle tone that surprised her. Something in his eyes made Zara pause. He looked tired and sad, despite his expensive watch that he seemed to be trying to hide under his sleeve. "Sit down," she said, gesturing to a small table. "I'll get you something." She brought out bread and pepper soup, leftovers from the day that she usually took home for dinner. "I can't pay much," the man admitted, pulling out a few crumpled Naira bills. He had left his mansion with hardly any cash. Zara pushed the money back. "It's on the house. These are just leftovers I'd take home anyway." The man, Dio, looked surprised. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" Zara shrugged. "My grandmother always said, 'A closed hand catches no blessings.' Besides, everyone deserves kindness." For the first time in months, Dio felt himself smiling naturally. "I'm Dan," he said, using the nickname his mother had called him before she died. "I'm Zara," she replied. As he ate, they talked. Dio carefully avoided mentioning his business or wealth. Instead, he talked about books he loved, places he'd seen, and asked Zara about her bakery. He found himself enchanted by her passion when she described creating new recipes and her dream of expanding the bakery to include a small cafe. When Kofi emerged from the back room, Dio was surprised to learn that Zara cared for her brother alone. "Our parents died in a car accident 5 years ago," Zara explained. "It's just been us since then." "Yet you still gave food to a stranger," Dio said quietly. Zara smiled. "There's always enough to share if you look at what you have instead of what you don't." When Dio finally left, he felt lighter than he had in years. Over the next few weeks, Dio visited the bakery often, always as Dan in his simple disguise. He told Zara he was between jobs, working as a freelance software developer. It wasn't exactly a lie. He did write code for his company occasionally, but it hid his true status. He found himself looking forward to their conversations and Zara's genuine laugh. She never asked about his money or status. Instead, she shared stories about the neighborhood, taught him how to knead dough, and introduced him to her friends. "No, no," she laughed one day, guiding his hands on the dough. "You're being too gentle with it. You need to show it who's boss." The warmth of her hands on his made Dio's heart race in a way no business deal ever had. Later, she showed him her grandmother's recipe book, the pages worn with age and use. "These recipes aren't just food," she explained. "They're our history. This one helped my mother when she was pregnant with Kofi. This one has been used for wedding celebrations for generations." One evening, while helping clean up, Dio asked about the worried expression Zara couldn't hide. "It's nothing," she said at first, then sighed. "Actually, it's everything. There's a community vote tomorrow about redeveloping this street. If it passes, I'll lose the bakery." "Who's behind it?" Dio asked. "Amara Badejo. Her father owns Badejo Developments. She's determined to tear down these old buildings for luxury apartments and shops." Dio frowned. He knew Ibrahim Badejo and his reputation for aggressive business tactics. "I could help," he offered. "I know a bit about business proposals." Zara smiled gratefully. "I'd appreciate that. The meeting's tomorrow at 3 p.m. What Dio didn't tell her was that as soon as he left, he planned to make some calls. As CEO of Paytown, he had considerable influence and resources. Amara Badejo had everything: beauty, wealth, connections, but she craved more. This redevelopment project was her chance to prove herself to her demanding father. Ever since she'd failed to secure an important investment last year, humiliated when the investor chose her rival's project instead, she'd been desperate to succeed. When she passed by Zara's bakery and saw a handsome man laughing with Zara as they worked together, something twisted inside her. She recognized him somehow but couldn't place him. The way he looked at Zara made Amara burn with jealousy. "Who was that man?" she demanded the next day, bursting into the bakery. Zara looked up in surprise. "A friend. Why?" "He looks familiar," Amara said, studying Zara with new interest. Is he your boyfriend? Zara blushed. No, just a friend. But Amara noticed the softness in Zara's eyes. Well, don't get too attached. After tomorrow's vote, you'll be looking for a new job and a new place to live. After Amara left, her mind was racing. That man seemed so familiar. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through social media, then stopped suddenly on a business magazine cover. No way, she whispered, looking at Dio Okafor's face. She zoomed in, comparing it to the man she'd seen in the bakery. They were the same person, but why would one of the richest men in Africa be hanging out in a rundown bakery with someone like Zara? A plan began forming in Amara's mind. If Dio Okafor was interested in this neighborhood, perhaps there was more value here than she'd thought. And if he was interested in Zara, well, Amara had never lost a man to another woman since that devastating rejection in university, and she wasn't about to start now. This time, she whispered to herself, I won't be the one left behind. The community hall was packed for the vote. Amara stood confidently at the front, presenting glossy renderings of her modern development. This will bring jobs and tourism, she declared. Property values will rise. This is progress. Many nodded, impressed by the beautiful images and promises of economic growth. When it was Zara's turn to speak, she nervously described the history of the neighborhood, the families who had lived and worked there for generations, and how her bakery served as a community gathering place. Not everyone needs luxury apartments, she said quietly. Sometimes people just need a place that feels like home, where they can get food that feeds their souls as well as their bodies. She held up her grandmother's recipe book. If we lose this bakery, we lose more than a building. We lose our heritage. Whispers filled the room. While people appreciated Zara's bakery, many were tempted by Amara's promises of modernization and jobs. Then a man stood up at the back. Zara was surprised to see Dan wearing nicer clothes than usual, but still not the designer suits Dio typically wore in public. I'd like to present an alternative, he said, walking to the front. Amara's eyes widened as she recognized him without his baseball cap. Whispers erupted as others began to recognize the famous tech billionaire. Dio presented a different vision, renovating the existing buildings while preserving their character, creating a mixed-use development with affordable spaces for local businesses alongside new apartments and shops. The soul of Lagos isn't in shiny new towers, he said. It's in its people and their stories. We can embrace progress without erasing history. The crowd murmured with excitement. Amara's face darkened with rage. When the meeting ended, Zara approached Dio, confusion clear on her face. Dan, or should I say Mr. Okafor? Her voice trembled. Before he could answer, Amara stepped between them. Dio, I had no idea you were interested in this project, she gushed, touching his arm. We should discuss combining our visions. My father would love to partner with you. Excuse me, Dio said firmly, moving past her towards Zara, who had already turned to leave. Zara, wait! I can explain. Explain what? Zara asked, tears in her eyes. That you've been lying to me for weeks? That this was all some game to you? No, it wasn't like that. Was anything real? She demanded, her voice breaking. But before he could answer, Kofi grabbed his sister's hand. Come on, Zara. We don't need liars in our lives. He shot Dio a fierce glare as they left. Amara was not about to let this opportunity slip away. The next day, she visited Zara's bakery again. I came to apologize, she said sweetly, and to explain about Dio. Zara looked up warily. What about him? Oh, honey, Amara said with fake sympathy. Did he make you think he actually cared about you? Dio and I have known each other for years. He's invested in several of my father's projects. This was a complete lie, but Amara continued smoothly. He likes to play these games, pretending to be a regular person, seeing if women will like him without knowing his wealth. It's like a test. He's done it before. Zara felt sick. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want to see you hurt when he moves on. That's what he does. Amara leaned forward. Besides, he's already agreed to partner with my father on a new development plan. The bakery will still need to go. After Amara left, Zara closed the bakery early, too upset to work. Later that evening, when Dio came by to explain, she refused to see him. "Tell him to go back to his mansion and leave us alone," she told Kofi, who guarded the door. But Kofi, who had always been good at reading people, sensed something wasn't right about Amara's story. That night, he secretly followed Dio and overheard him on the phone, angrily refusing to work with Ibrahim Badejo. For a week, Dio tried to reach Zara, but she wouldn't answer his calls. Finally, Kofi approached him outside the bakery. "My sister won't talk to you," he said, "but I will." "Why?" Dio asked, surprised. "Because I heard you turn down Amara's father," Kofi said, "and because you made my sister happy. She hasn't smiled like that since our parents died." Kofi agreed to deliver a letter from Dio. In it, Dio explained everything, how lonely he felt, surrounded by people who only saw his wealth, how refreshing it was to be seen as just a person, and how ashamed he was for not telling her the truth sooner. "I've never felt with anyone else what I feel when I'm with you," he wrote, "not because you treated me like a billionaire, but because you treated me like a human being. The bread we made together was the first thing I've created with my own hands that wasn't about money or business. It was about sharing and connection." Zara read the letter several times, her heart softening. But then she remembered Amara's words about how this was a game he played. The next day, a large envelope arrived at the bakery, official notice that the buildings around her had been purchased by Badejo Developments, and her lease would not be renewed. When Zara called Dio in tears, he was shocked. "I had nothing to do with this," he insisted. "Ibrahim is acting alone." "So you're not partnering with the Badejos?" Zara asked. "Absolutely not. Amara must have lied to you." Realizing she had been manipulated, Zara agreed to meet Dio. When she told him everything Amara had said, his face hardened. "She's trying to pressure me through you," he said, "but she doesn't understand what's truly valuable." The next day, Amara was surprised to receive an invitation to meet Dio at his office. Dressed in her most expensive outfit, she arrived confident that he had decided to accept her father's partnership offer. Instead, she found both Dio and Zara waiting along with her father. "What is she doing here?" Amara demanded, pointing at Zara. "I invited her," Dio said coldly, "to hear the truth." He played a recording of his conversation with Ibrahim Badejo earlier that day, where Ibrahim admitted that Amara had lied about Dio's involvement to pressure property owners to sell. Ibrahim's face reddened with anger and embarrassment. "Is this true, Amara?" Cornered, Amara exploded. "Of course it is. I did what needed to be done. This project was my chance to prove myself, and I wasn't going to let some baker ruin it." She turned on Zara. "What does he even see in you? You're nobody." "That's enough!" Ibrahim shouted. "You've embarrassed yourself and me." "You don't understand," Amara cried, tears suddenly flowing. "I had to succeed this time. After losing the Echo Heights project last year, everyone laughed at me. I couldn't fail again." For a moment, Zara felt a flash of sympathy for the woman who had tormented her. Success at any cost, what a lonely way to live. "She sees me for who I am, not what I own," Dio said quietly to Amara. "That makes her more valuable than all your father's developments combined." Ibrahim, furious with his daughter for damaging his business reputation, apologized to Dio and Zara before leading Amara out. "This partnership is over," he told her, "and so is your role in my company until you learn some integrity." In the following months, Dio worked with the community to create a development plan that would preserve the neighborhood's character while improving infrastructure. Zara's bakery became the centerpiece of a renovated market square, and with Dio's investment, she was able to expand into the cafe she had always dreamed of. One evening, as they closed the cafe together, the rich aroma of jollof rice and grilled fish filling the air, Dio showed Zara plans for a community center he wanted to build. "It will provide education and job training," he explained, "so others can build their own futures." Zara smiled. "My grandmother would have approved." "I wish I could have met her," Dio said. "She raised an extraordinary woman." "What about your family?" Zara asked. She had never met Dio's father, a stern businessman who disapproved of his son's charity projects. "They'll come around," Dio said, "or they won't. Either way, I've found where I belong." A few weeks later, to everyone's surprise, Amara came to the bakery. After losing her position at her father's company, she had been forced to re-evaluate her life. "I came to apologize," she said, this time genuinely, "and to ask if you might need help with your new cafe. I do know something about business, even if I went about it the wrong way." Zara hesitated, then remembered her grandmother's words about second chances. "We could use help with the marketing plan," she admitted. Later that night, standing on the roof of the bakery under the stars, the distant sounds of Lagos nightlife humming around them, Dio took Zara's hand. "All my life I thought fortune meant money and power," he said. "Now I know true fortune is finding someone who sees you, really sees you, and loves what they see. Even when what they see is a man who can't bake bread without burning it," Zara teased. Dio laughed, the sound carrying across the neighborhood he had come to call home. "Especially then." As they looked out over the community they had saved together, Dio realized he was finally home, not in a penthouse or mansion, but in the heart of a neighborhood, with a woman who had taught him the richest thing in life was love freely given, with no price tag attached. And for the first time since he'd become wealthy, Dio felt truly, authentically rich. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new tale from us.